Okay, so another YouTube video, here we go. Today's video, I'm actually going to be answering some questions put out there. What do people want to see if I did like a little Q&A video? And I'm going to go through today answering some of the questions that we got through and also expand on those things a little bit. Some of these questions are actually points that come up in conversation all the time in the shop, but for you guys at home who don't live local, that don't get the opportunity to come to the shop and pick my brains on stuff, I thought this would be a good way to do a little bit of that as well. So without further ado, let's get into it and start rattling off some questions and expanding on that. So before we actually answer some questions, I'm going to give you a little rundown of the history of Audierag and how we got to where we are today. Audierag was actually founded in around 2011 by Dave Sutton and his partner Lynn, and we bought the business in 2024 in April from Dave and Lynn. Lynn still works at the shop here. Dave still comes in all the time, hangs out. We've got a really good relationship with them, and that kind of is a segue into our first question. The first question essentially was, what drew you to Audierag and why did you decide to take this on as a business? Honestly, I just really loved what Audierag already was. I was a customer of the brand. I live local. I'm literally from Gloucester, so Audierag being in Gloucester and being a biker, it was my local hangout. Like all the people that come here on the weekends, I was just one of those people, and it became a point of interest to me one day when I was literally listening to a podcast in my car, and they basically said on this podcast, buying businesses isn't like buying houses. There's not a bunch of, you can't just go onto Rightmove and search for businesses. You have to speak to people, ask them, inquire about where they're at in their personal life, in their business and stuff. And it really got the gears moving in my head. And I thought, if I was to buy a business ever, it would be the Audierag, because it's everything I love. I love being a part of it as a customer, but I would love the opportunity to sort of have that as a business of my own. And so, long story short, spoke to Dave. I said, look, what's your plans? Would it be something you're interested in making a deal? And he said, for the right person, which I think you are, and the right money and the deal and everything all can be sorted out, then he was open to it. Long story short, here we are. Been a fan of Audierag. I've bought t-shirts and clothes from here long before there was any sort of inkling in my mind to take the business on or to buy it. I love the fact that I've met people through here. Before we owned it, I was meeting people here and getting to know people, and that's only sort of amplified since we've taken it on as a business and being the owners. But I just loved everything about it. I actually went to the bike shed opening, and there was loads of celebrities there. Really cool day, really cool sort of party and everything, because I was a member of the bike shed at the time through my work and everything else. And I met Tom Hardy, and I had this moment a couple of months ago where I went back. It was come up on my memories, and I was wearing an Audierag t-shirt. And that was just like quite an epitome of the sort of meant to be thing. It sounds corny and a bit like, whatever. But I saw that picture and I was like, oh man, that's just so cool how that became a thing in the end. So yeah, that's kind of why we decided to inquire about it with Dave. And then from there, sort of the business side of things that, there's actually, have to run a business and do all that adult stuff. I was working at Ruroc Helmets at the time, and they're a big social-led, a big e-commerce brand. They do things a little bit differently. They don't have their stuff in stores, everything's online and all this kind of stuff. But I did learn a lot about e-commerce and online sales and that whole side of business and marketing and stuff. And I thought, I'm no expert by any means, but I've seen behind the curtain of the other side of things, not just being a customer, but being part of an e-commerce brand. There's definitely things that I've learned and I've seen and I've picked up, and people that I know that can help me develop Audierag's e-commerce side. And that is essentially why we've invested in this and what we're sort of looking to do. We're looking to push, and why I'm sat here talking to you on our YouTube channel now. So there we go. That is pretty much the long and short of that one. Another question that somebody asked me that was quite interesting is where I see Audierag in 5 years. Honestly, when somebody asked me that, it was a little bit of a, not daunting question, but like, God, 5 years. I mean, we've been just over a year now, so we bought it April 24, and it's now October 25, and it feels like it's been 5 years almost, honestly. It's been crazy. But to say a 5-year plan, or to say we have a 5-year plan, would honestly be, I wouldn't be lying to you, but I'd say that I'm not thinking that far ahead. especially because when you do buy a business, you have a lot of things that, although you do your due diligence, there's a lot of things that are unknown to you, and you come in with all these ideas as an outside perspective, and probably sort of some of the ideas that people who are watching this might have for the brand and the business, and go, that would be great if you did that. And then you come into it and you learn it, and you figure out the nuts and bolts of what the business is and what makes it tick, and then that completely changes your view on what you want to do. And so I'd say that our 5-year plan is always changing and evolving. The goal is always progression with what we can offer as a hangout, but the main focus and goal for us moving forward is what we can offer as a clothing brand. I don't know if this is a common misconception with Oily Rag and who we are. I've had conversations with people here before, and honestly, within this week and last week, we want to change the sort of perception of Oily Rag as a biker hangout that sells t-shirts and merchandise of like a souvenir t-shirt. Because honestly, it's not. We've got a lot of products, a lot of depth in what we do. And we're trying to evolve that and even expand that and have more offerings and create new things and really push forward the clothing side of things. What makes us different to other clothing brands? I think that's such like we're more than just a brand. Is a very, very common thing that you hear. And for us, we do think we have a little bit something different, because as a clothing brand, what we essentially put ourselves out as is a community and a clothing brand that's real, and it exists, and we're here. And so I think that is our USP, but it's also balancing that with how we make ourselves different from being a coffee bar, hangout, biker destination thing, to also just making sure that we're promoting ourselves as a clothing brand first and foremost. So honestly, we're still figuring out the balance between those two, and I'm always pushing, always developing for new products, but also making sure that we're not sort of putting all of our eggs into one basket with all of this, maintaining the great atmosphere that we have here. And people say, well, would you go to a bigger venue so you can open 7 days a week and stuff? And that honestly would turn us into a food and beverage business, which we aren't. We're not a hospitality business. We do coffee and a bit of food on the weekends, like some sausage rolls and nice cakes and stuff, but it starts and finishes there. If we went into hospitality, a business model like Baffle House, they're doing really well and super popular, but they're open 7 days a week and they've got a lot of staff, and it's a completely different, although visiting it might feel kind of similar, like we're a smaller scale version of that. We are a different business. Our bread and butter is the clothing. So still figuring out how we progress with that without demonizing one to the other. That's probably been the biggest struggle, I'd say, since we've come in to really figure out the balance of all that. But in 5 years, I just want to be doing what I'm doing now and still enjoying it. Creating, that's the best part of all the job, is when it comes to design and clothing. And I'm a bit of a clothing collector myself. My wife will tell you that I've got way too many t-shirts, way too many jackets and clothes, and I've always been that way inclined. So to be able to create my own now is something I really love, and I just want to keep doing that. Hopefully we can grow a little bit, have more of a team, whether that's with marketing, with sort of a bit of help here now and then, but I don't know. We're just taking it as it comes, because it's more difficult than I thought it would be, but it's also the fact that it is more difficult makes it much more rewarding when things do go right, or you get nice compliments or a nice review, or somebody buys a t-shirt and they get it and they send you a message saying, I'm absolutely loving this. Just in 5 years, I hope that I can sit here, whether it is in this unit or we go somewhere else, I don't know, but I just want to be sitting here and going, I'm still loving what I'm doing. That's the main important thing for me, and I hope that people are still loving what we're doing as much as we're loving doing it. So that's pretty much where I see Oily Rag in 5 years. So this is the last question, because I'm not going to overdo it, and I do have a tendency to ramble, so there'd probably be very long answers to this. But somebody asked me if I could have another Oily Rag. But people always ask me, would you franchise it or do anything like that? Or where would you open another Oily Rag if you could? Honestly, I think if there was, blue sky thinking, I would love to take Oily Rag to America. And this is honestly kind of where my love for motorcycles really kicked off. So I've been riding bikes since I was a teenager. I think I was either 13 or 14. My dad surprised me on my birthday with a Suzuki RM85, little dirt bike. And I loved it. And that was it. That was motorbikes and stuff like that. I was obsessed, and then moved on to a Yamaha YZ125 after that. Stepped up, bigger wheels and stuff like that. But it sort of stopped then, because I became an adult. I went to work, and my love for motorcycles never died. But I'm sure everyone will agree, if you're watching this and you've done your license, especially recently, it's something that you don't get into easily, as in the license and doing that. You've got to really want to do it. And so I passed my test in 2020 when the COVID lockdown thing was a real thing. And that's what got me back into bikes, but actually riding them on the road, like road legal bikes. And then as I was working for Ruroc, COVID was sort of taking off, and my role there was brand and community and events, but events weren't happening. And so once we did go to America with that company, and we went to events like Daytona, Bike Week and stuff like that, and met loads of people over there, and really fell in love with how motorcycling is a part of people's lives over there. Obviously you get states where the weather's a lot better, all year round riding. You know, I just really fell in love with how it's a part of your lifestyle in America. Here it's quite a different side of it. It feels more like a hobbyist, and I think that is down to weather and some of the roads and stuff like that, and how far we can actually go in the UK and stuff like that. But I went to America, I went to Daytona Bike Week, and, you know, hands up, accountability. I came back and I went, I need to buy a Harley. I know that will probably sit differently with some people who watch this, but just that was my sort of introduction to that brand, and I really loved it. And I loved the people that I met through all of that. Special mention to my friend John Blockhead, who's on YouTube. Hanging out with him and his friends, and their sort of how they motorcycle sort of join them together. I just loved it, and it just, you know, watching his videos, and everything was about Harleys because it's in America and stuff. And I just loved what it meant to them and how it was a real part of their day-to-day life. And I think if I was to take Audi-Rag anywhere in the world, I don't exactly know where, somewhere maybe in Tennessee. I kind of like that Nashville sort of vibe. But somewhere in America I could open an Audi-Rag would be the dream and the goal. The market over there, a lot bigger, is all about motorcycling. And I just think I would really love to be a part of that. And I think that would probably be where I would want Audi-Rag to exist if it didn't exist here in my hometown. Maybe one day, I don't know, you never know. But for now, we're very happy being in Gloucester. This is my home, and Audi-Rag's home, and long may it continue as well. So that's it for the questions, and if you have any that you'd like to see more of, drop one in the comment section below. A bit of a different video. I know I've been a little bit slow on the videos and stuff at the moment, but it's been really busy. We're sort of like, believe it or not, getting everything ready for Christmas. I mean, you've got to get going into the clothing brand stuff here now, but to have everything ready for November, you need to be sorted and solid in October. So good news is we've got some new stock coming, some new designs, some new lines, and really nice bits and pieces. That's coming very soon. Been really busy and just chaos as usual, but really enjoying it. So I hope you've liked this. Hit that like button, subscribe. 1 billion subscribers, and I really appreciate anyone who's still here watching and supporting the channel. I've had a few people come up, say they've watched the videos and they've come down to the shop, say, oh, you know, I've been watching the YouTube, really love it. Honestly, every person that tells me that, it keeps me motivated. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me talk a load of rubbish, and I will catch you on the next one. Anything else you want to see on YouTube too, comments, let me know, because if you've got good ideas, I'm all ears. Right, enough from me. I'll catch you later. Bye.